Well, I'm glad to see all of you here this morning. Last week we began our Advent conspiracy by committing to worship fully throughout the season. And this week we're going to go a little deeper into the conspiracy, into some of the more specific points. Now let me ask, how many of you have been Christmas shopping yet so far this year? Okay, most of you. That's pretty good. I started my shopping this week, unlike most of you. How many of you, your Christmas shopping will start at about 4 p.m. on December 23rd? Okay? All right. Any of you hate going to the mall this time of year? Yeah? Okay. Any of you really like going to the mall? It's okay. Okay? That's good. All right. Now, I'll be honest, I don't like the crowds. But I really do like shopping, especially around Christmas time. I tend to do my shopping during the less busy times. I was in the mall Friday morning this week, and it wasn't that crowded. It was great because you had all the Christmas decorations and fun without 100,000 people pushing past you. And I really do enjoy the shopping, and I think one of my favorite things about it is getting to see the stupid consumer items that are for sale each year. And in fact, this was my favorite part of shopping this week. And here are a few of my favorites that I was able to find. The first one is a Texas waffle iron. Let's put it up there. I know what you're thinking. You've been all your life eating boring circular waffles when you could be eating waffles with just a little bit of character. Not really sure why you need a Texas waffle iron. I mean, you could say that a circle waffle is a bullseye or something, and it'd be already plenty Texasy, but if you need one that's truly a Texas waffle iron, then go out and get one. They're at Bed Bath & Beyond. If you're more of a sports fan, we have this next item. It's a toaster that will emblazon your toast with your favorite Major League Baseball team. Once again, they did have some with the Rangers on it, which was important to me. There's one thing I hate. It's eating toast that doesn't remind me of baseball, but that's okay. This next one, I didn't get it. I'll be honest. I flat out didn't understand it. It's the bright light pillow. This pillow, you can turn it on and it will shine lights, because when you're taking a nap on your couch in the afternoon, who doesn't love light shining all over your eyes? I don't get it. Oh, okay. Now I get it. All right. Kind of like a nightlight. Yeah. Okay. I still don't get why you want it like right here, but that's okay. It's all right. Maybe it's like a closeness, a security sort of aspect. But there's one stupid consumer item, which is the king of them all. It sold more than any other. It was such a phenomenon about 3 years ago that within the first few months it sold 4 million units. That was a record. Any guess what that might be? Snuggie! And I got my Snuggie. See, I got this one with the camouflage just in case I was ever in a situation where I needed to blend in but also feel snugly warm all at the same time. You remember seeing these about 3 years ago? They were everywhere. I think their moment has kind of passed. I still use mine, but the hype of them has sort of gone by the wayside. There are knockoffs to the Snuggie out there, like the Slanket and the Snuggler. But I wasn't going to be caught dead in a Slanket. I had to have the real thing. Especially that camouflaged one. Love it. They even make now the dog Snuggie. Let's see the picture of that. Just in case, you remember the commercials and the lady, she's, the phone rings and she's all caught up in her blanket. She has to throw the blanket off. I guess sometime a dog might have a phone call and they don't want to. I just don't get it. When I saw that TV commercial for the first time for the Snuggie, I actually really was watching TV under a blanket. This must have, I'm sure they started marketing them in the winter. And I was watching TV under my blanket, and you see the commercial, and like I said, the phone rings, and the lady, she's all caught up. She has to throw the blanket off of her. And the whole time I can remember thinking, at any moment, that could happen to me. I could get a phone call, and I too would be the victim of phone call-related chilliness with this boring square blanket. So what do you know, a few weeks later I had my Snuggie. And that's really what's at the root of a lot of our buying sometimes. It's this impulse that life could really be better if we supplemented it with the right things. If we just had that one thing, if we could just get that good Texas-shaped waffle and some more lights in our pillows, life could finally be worth living. Now, of course, that sounds pretty silly, except that we believe it. Maybe not on these little knuckle-headed, gimmicky sorts of things, but with the bigger things, if we could just have that big enough house or the right car that would be the right status symbol, if we could just have our home look like Martha Stewart magazine at Christmas time, we'd finally be happy. That's really what Christmas is about, isn't it? It's about all the decoration and excess. There seems to be this glitch in how we celebrate Advent and Christmas. It's not that all these presents and decorations and other stuff is a bad thing. I happen to like them. I'm glad they're part of the celebration. It's more about how we let those things take over the whole season. It's how we live into this notion that more must mean better. We start to believe that more will mean happiness. But sometimes more just equals more. There's a good little object lesson into the excess of the season, and it comes right at the start. It's not a bad thing. It's just a window into something deeper that marks the holidays, and that's Thanksgiving dinner. If you've gotten to know me over these past few months, you're probably figuring out that my life basically boils down to food and how to enjoy it. When it comes to the 7 deadly sins, I'm a big fan of gluttony. It's my favorite one. And at Thanksgiving, I'm sure a lot of you can identify with this. A few weeks ago, we sat down at the table. All my favorite foods were there that we only get to eat a couple times a year. I loaded my plate with turkey and stuffing and the sweet potato casserole and the green bean casserole, the cranberry salad, my grandma's special shrimp salad, all my favorite things. And then gave almost all of the plate a bath of gravy. And by the end of it, I had eaten so much that my whole body just felt heavy. Isn't that a wonderful feeling? I'm sure some of you can identify. So I got up. Standing up most of the time doesn't seem like a big deal, except after Thanksgiving dinner, in which case it seems like such a hard, laborious thing just to stand up. You got the whole weight of the earth on your shoulders, it feels like. And of course, then it's dish time. Who doesn't love doing dishes right after Thanksgiving dinner? You don't even want to move. But I can remember feeling such satisfaction, such perfection. Well, almost. Because we hadn't had dessert yet. So a slice of pumpkin pie and a slice of pecan pie. At this point, my stomach really feels like if someone pushed on it hard enough, it might pop. Well, finally, now I'd reached satisfaction. Almost. Because then I thought, Thanksgiving dinner's good. But the next day, when those leftovers have had a chance, all the flavors get to really mix together, that's when it's truly good, isn't it? It isn't bad sometimes to indulge in excess. It's a way to celebrate. It's biblical. Actually, the Israelites had feasts all the time. Most cultures do have times of excess. Indulgent isn't necessarily even a sin. What's a sin is when we think that indulgence is what is supremely important in life. Somewhere along the way it becomes necessary, particularly for the followers of Jesus, to take a step back and simply ask a few questions. How much is enough? Will more make me happy? Will it make me and the people that I love better people? And going back to that Thanksgiving analogy, there was one year when a member of my family decided that they were just going to eat one plate. No seconds. He still got all the foods that he liked. He got to enjoy them. And then when the meal was over, his body wasn't so overwhelmed by the food that all he could do was just crawl to the nearest couch. And all those chores afterwards, all the cleaning up, it wasn't so bad. Does more equal happy? Is more the same as good, or is more just more? So we mark the holiday seasons beginning with a Thanksgiving feast, and then we go about really kicking it up to the next level in terms of excess for the next month. Spending and spending and spending and gorging in ways that go beyond food, and hoping for something from all the spending. There's this problem we face in the world. You know what the fastest growing religion in the world is today? People in Sunday school actually do know. They can't answer this question. If you think that it's Christianity, well, Christianity is growing in the world. It's actually growing at a pretty good clip. But it's not the fastest growing religion. Islam and Buddhism, they're all growing too, but they're not the fastest growing religions either. Fastest growing religion in the world today is radical consumerism. This notion that more will make us happy, more will lead us to contentment. We can get to salvation by the way of our wallet. Not just here, but all around the world. You know, we in this country, we used to send missionaries all over the world in the name of Christ. We still do send missionaries all over the world. But we're spreading the gospel of consumerism to every corner of the earth. And the excess that we've come to believe in, if you think that's an exaggeration to say that it's a religion, it has spiritual connotations. It puts our desires and our sense of entitlement at the center of all meaning. See, here's the problem. We're all constantly searching for that one thing, the one thing that will satisfy us. And it's not that we just want more. That's not really at the root of things. The problem is that what we really want isn't something that we can buy. We've been searching for God, and we've settled for stuff. This isn't anything new. It's been like this almost since the beginning. Isaiah 55:2 says, "Why spend money for what isn't food, and your earnings for what doesn't satisfy? Listen carefully to me, and eat what is good. Enjoy the richest of feasts. Listen and come to me. Listen and you will live." I always like it when something that was written a few thousand years ago sounds like it was written for us today. Christmas has never been about all the stuff. It's been about Jesus. It hasn't been about all that we can buy. It's been about who we can follow. Maybe Christmas on its own terms has been good enough all along. Maybe Christmas hasn't ever needed tinsel to make it look good. Now that doesn't mean no presents and no parties and no fun. We don't have to spend all of Christmas at church praying and being unhappy. Rather, it means that we stop and see and examine what we're teaching our kids when we finish the day with a mountain of presents. It means embracing a spirit of giving instead of a spirit of spending. So what can we do? Well, first, spending less begins by pausing and contemplating what's important. You know, there's this beautiful message, there's this beautiful verse in Luke's nativity story. The angel Gabriel has just visited Mary and given her the good news that she's going to be the mother of the Messiah, the promised Savior of the world. And so what does she do? Does she go out and buy a bunch of food and throw a party or a feast? Does she give presents to everyone she knows to celebrate? Her first reaction, verse 19 of chapter 2, tells us is that Mary treasured all these things and pondered them in her heart. When we pause and contemplate, we're able to figure out what in the Christmas season is treasure and what is clutter and distraction. The second thing that we can do is to re-examine our Christmas lists. I'd like to challenge you to consider buying at least one less Christmas gift this year. This isn't about stinginess. Next week we're going to look at ways that we can redefine giving. We'll redefine it in ways that focus more on spending time with loved ones instead of spending time in malls. But for now, consider the people that you're shopping for. How many of them will get a gift from you more out of a sense of obligation or routine rather than generosity and love? Consider taking those people off your shopping list. And the other half of that is to liberate those people from the stress of shopping for you. We're going to do another one of my little activities. And so if you've been here for one of these before, you know that right now you need to find a partner. Let's take just a moment. And when you have your partner, turn and look at your partner in the eye and repeat after me. You have enough. Your nephew that you haven't seen all year has enough. Your Aunt Mabel has enough. And once again, because it bears repeating, say it to them again. You have enough. All right. You know, there are a lot of different ways that you can embrace spending less. Here are just a few practical ideas. One of the things that my family's done for a few years now, and a lot of families do this, especially among adult members of the family, is to draw names. I heard from someone else in the congregation whose family does something very much like this. We've done it for several years now, and what I really like about it is if I'm just shopping for one person, I can focus on that person and what they really want, what they really need. In a weird kind of way, it introduces me to a member of my own family. It brings me closer to them. It allows me to be a better gift giver to them. Another way that I've seen this happen is through a family friend who, instead of buying his wife a gift, he bought her an airline ticket to go see her mother who was ailing. He'd been planning on buying a ticket for her to go see her mother in April, but he decided to give her another one too so that she could see her twice during the year. It can be as simple as giving some people permission not to shop for you. And if they want to do something, invite them to give in your name to a cause that they believe in. When we're not as focused on spending, it liberates us to be giving of ourselves to others, giving in ways to people who need more than we do. You know, one of the things that we have out in the foyer is a Christmas tree, and if you've noticed that there are gloves all around it. How much does a pair of wool gloves cost? Like $3, $2, I don't know what. We're going to collect gloves throughout the season, and at the end, the UMW is going to be bringing them to an organization that will distribute them to the street people around El Paso, because $2 doesn't make much of a difference to us, but it may make a great deal of difference when it comes to frostbitten fingers. Spending less this season doesn't mean giving something up. It's more about reclaiming the gospel in your own heart. Spending less is about spiritual reorientation that can come from the act of spending less. It helps us to become less self-centered, and it helps us to grow into salvation. Spending less allows us to take this holiday and turn it into a holy day. It means that we can give in a way that embraces the child who was born to save the world by the giving of the one true and perfect gift, of God's love. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.